Hey everyone, happy Monday. I hope you all had a great weekend. Hey, last week we talked about those first few days of life, that second and or third day of life, and then we added a little bit about the first 2 weeks of life. And we talked about some of those things that are really comforting to a baby, especially in those early days. We talked about swaddling a little bit, about babies have an innate need to suck, and how sometimes putting your finger in their mouth really helps with that. We also talked about that sound, that shh, shh, shh sound, sitting on a ball and bouncing and doing all that stuff. So there were lots of questions and comments about it. So I just thought, as I had commented last time about how I'm a visual learner, and I didn't have the props when we were doing it live, so I am going to give you a visual on some of that stuff that we talked about. So so here we go. I'm going to do my best. So I have my slightly creepy baby doll, which, okay, I'm going to make everything look so super duper easy because anybody can swaddle a doll, especially when it's an itty bitty little doll like this and can just move into all kinds of crazy positions. But it's much harder to swallow. It's very hard to swallow a baby. Don't try it. It's also very hard to swaddle a crying, moving baby, especially when you're afraid of hurting your baby or doing something too tight. I assure you, you can never diaper a baby too tight, nor can you swaddle them too tight. You're never going to suffocate your baby. I shouldn't say that, but hopefully you will have the wherewithal not to suffocate your baby. So never swaddle a baby across the mouth. But I don't believe anyone can make a blanket tight enough to choke a baby. So let's go over some basic things. One is I have this lovely birth ball, and everybody loves a birth ball because it gives you the ability to bounce. And I talked about how you can tuck it into a corner. So if you're really super tired, you can really get this ball tucked into a corner and maybe lean in and kind of, not that you want to fall asleep on that ball, but you can kind of let go of your shoulders a little bit. I can't do it here because I'll fall, but maybe if we can get that camera over here, if I tucked this in, I could kind of lean against the wall and it's not going to go anywhere. So whereas if I was just sitting in the middle of the room, I can't lean on anything and the ball will fall, right? So there's a way where you could tuck it in. Some balls, I don't have this because we don't need it here, but they have a stand, I'm realizing. I don't know that you really need that, but some like people will use a ball similar to this at work. So they do make these stands. I've not been on one with a stand. Have you?
No, I have a ball just like this at my desk, and I don't use a stand.
You don't use a stand. But anyway, so the ball is really, really useful. Lots of people swear by this ball for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. It's their only way that they can get the baby to sleep. So, okay, so creepy baby doll. Your baby is much cuter than this. And let's talk about swaddling. So this baby is easy to swaddle in just a basic, inexpensive little receiving blanket. Most people, the best kind are those big, long, like gauzy. They don't need to be expensive. Everybody sells them now, and they're really great. They're super gauzy, and they're really long. So no matter the size of your baby, you can swaddle them up in there. So the way I do it is I just take it, and I fold down the top corner. So I just make it like that. And I always make sure it's not by the tag, just because I don't irritate them. And then I put the doll, or the baby, at the top of the swaddle. I usually make the top part of the swaddle right at the baby's ears. And just like that. And then I just fold the baby's arms down and I go shh, 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 shh. Remember we talked about that sound? And that settles them down. Often you could just even, when we do certain tests on the baby, we're checking their color, or where, you know, if they've had any kind of tongue release or lip release and we're looking at that, we'll often fold them up and just hold them tight. When we're doing the newborn exam right at birth, you know, we usually do it about the 2-hour mark after birth, and we'll settle them down and just hold them, rock them gently and go shh, shh, shh. And they usually just quiet right down because they love that nice cozy feeling as if they were still in your body. So I fold the arms, and then I take one side and I pull it across their shoulder like that. And then I kind of make a, what is it called when you make a bed and you do those military corners? So I sort of do a military corner, and I bring it across the baby's body, and I roll the baby on its side. And I tuck it here. And this is the part where people think, oh, can you do it too tight? You can't do it too tight at this point. So I roll the baby to the side, I tuck it, and then I take this other side and I pull it really tight to make sure that it's nice and snug, because in 2 seconds this baby's going to be out of the swaddle. So I tuck it and I pull it real tight, but I'm not on the baby's mouth, right? So I'm not up here, obviously, because if you do the blanket up by the baby's mouth, they have an innate need, it's a reflex, and they're going to want to suck on it and do that rooting reflex. So you want to make sure it's below the mouth, obviously. And then my military corner, I roll the baby to the side, I tuck this receiving blanket in behind the baby, and then I take the other side and I pull it real firmly, so I make it nice, tucked tight. And then I roll the baby back, and I do the other side, my military corner, roll the baby again, and then I flip the baby. And then usually with a baby with that swaddly, with a gauzy one, there's enough to bring across on top, and then I tie it in like a little bow. And then I have this baby nice and swaddled, nice and tight. And then you could put your finger in their mouth, pad up. Remember, the biggest finger is what we talked about last time. You know, we all think babies are so fragile, which they are, of course, fragile, and they need lots of slow and shushing, you know, not a lot of loud noises and rapid movement, but they really do like to be bounced. And we tend to just want to put like our little pinky in there, or even our knuckle, and that's not helpful for getting them to suck really well. So the bigger finger, because remember, when they go to the breast, we want big, wide open mouths. So we want to train them to get their mouth wide open. So then you get your thumb in there all the way where that pad is flat up against the roof of the mouth. And then you just hold them. I'm holding this baby super firm to my body, and my thumb is in there. I say you hold them sort of like a bowling ball. My thumb is in there, and you go shh. So what this is doing, it's recreating the intrauterine experience, right? Because remember, when they were in your body, they were all curled up, right? And they were all in there. I've done this before, where I've put a baby in my shirt. So they're really tight in there. So when they come out, they really love to be in that, you know, fetal position, nice and firm. And they were sleeping all day long when you were walking around and doing your thing. And then you go home and you have dinner, and then you lay down to go to bed. And the most common time for a baby to wake up would be after everybody is quiet and you're going to bed and you're not moving. That's when we would get most of our fetal kick counts, right? So that's exactly when your baby's going to want to wake up once they're outside of your body. They're going to want to wake up in the evening. So you're going to swaddle them up real close to your ear even. Shh, while they're sucking on your finger. Shh. And then inevitably they'll just zonk out. And then you could just slide them down. And when they're here, skin to skin, if you don't have them swaddled, they can live what we say right here in the habitat, skin to skin on mom, blanket over the baby, their ear right where they can hear your heartbeat, right? Just right there where they can hear your heartbeat. That's where they really want to be for the first 12 weeks of life, as a matter of fact. But let's just not get ahead of ourselves. We were just talking about the first few days up to the first 2 weeks, okay? So hopefully that visual will help. Sucking, bouncing, shushing, and then giving them a nice tight swaddle. So, right, you're going to cover it, boom, wrap them up, roll them, spin them around, nice and cozy, 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 and then you will have just the sweetest, quietest little thing. And then every 2 hours, take all of that off, sit them up on your lap, support their chin, lean them forward, pat, 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 pat. Stretch them out, stretch their legs. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Come on, you can wake up. All their clothes are off. You got to really wake these guys up so that you can put them to the breast every 2 hours during the day and every 3 hours at night. So, and once they're fed and comforted, you can do all of those comfort measures to quiet them. But when it's time to feed them, undo all that stuff. This is a great position where you sit them up on your lap. Your hand is sort of at their chest. You're supporting their chin You're not holding their neck. You're supporting them around the chin, leaning them forward. Pat, 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 pat. Your hand is cupped. Pat, 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 pat. Lay them back. Stretch out their legs. Sit them back up. Moving the air through. Stretching out their legs. And now at this point, if they're day 3, day 4 of life, they're screaming. This is just the creepiest looking doll, I just gotta tell you. And then they scream, great. So now we're gonna put them to the breast, settle them down, put them to the breast. They're gonna nurse great. Then you're gonna sit them up and burp them after, and then swaddle them up and do all those wonderful things. So I hope that visual was helpful. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, you guys. Bye.